Here we are with the latest updates straight from the heart of the Cleveland Browns, just for you. But before we dive into today's big topic, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any updates. This season has been a roller coaster, and we need to stick together through it all. Alright, let's get to it. So, we have a real problem with turnovers this year. Last season, our defense was nearly unstoppable, giving up the fewest yards in the league, especially against the pass. That helped propel us to the playoffs, and we all expected to build on that success this year. But right now, the Browns' defense isn't living up to those expectations, especially when it comes to forcing turnovers. Through the first 9 games, our defense has forced just 5 turnovers, one of the worst numbers in the league. And here's a stat that really hits home. The Browns' defense has allowed 12 touchdown passes while only throwing 1 interception. Analyst Chris Malumphey pointed out that this ratio is the worst in the league, which makes it incredible that we've managed to win 2 games. What's changed? Injuries are playing a big role, especially in our defensive backfield. Last season, we forced 28 turnovers, including 18 interceptions. But this year, a series of injuries have hit our secondary hard, keeping some of our key players out and limiting the explosiveness we've had in 2023. As a result, we're not seeing those game-changing plays that could shift momentum and give our offense a boost. And speaking of offense, that brings us to our quarterback situation. With Deshaun Watson out for the season due to a torn Achilles tendon, the Browns face some tough choices for the rest of the year. We're now left with Jameis Winston, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Bailey Zapp, none of whom have inspired much confidence thus far. Winston had a tough game against the Chargers last week, where his decision-making led to some costly mistakes. Sure, it's refreshing to see a QB who's quick to make decisions, but when those decisions often lead to interceptions, it's a problem. Now, some analysts are suggesting it might be time to give Dorian Thompson-Robinson a shot sooner rather than later. He's young, he has potential, and this would give us a chance to see what he can do before the offseason. With Watson's massive contract still in effect, $46 million for each over the next 2 years, the Browns need to think carefully about their QB strategy going forward. But the problem goes beyond the quarterback. The lack of turnovers and defensive pressure has left our offense alone, having to carry more of the load. In a league where every possession counts, not being able to generate takeaways is a huge liability, especially when our offense is still finding its feet. As we head into the final stretch of the season, the Browns need to find ways to create more opportunities on defense and limit mistakes on offense. It won't be easy, and it will require adjustments from both players and coaches. Every game from here on out is a chance for our team to prove that it can bounce back and turn this season around. Okay, Browns fans, now I want to hear from you. Should we give Dorian Thompson-Robinson a chance to lead this team, or stick with Winston? And what do you think needs to change on defense to start forcing those turnovers again? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's take a deep dive into Jameis Winston's recent struggles, insights from Browns legend Josh Cribbs, and Myles Garrett's big midseason recognition. Let's start with Jameis Winston. Just a few weeks ago, he gave us a glimmer of hope, throwing for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Ravens. That win snapped a tough 5-game losing streak and had many of us thinking the season could turn around. But then came last week's game against the Chargers, where Winston threw 3 costly interceptions, and the offense fell back into a tailspin. It was a tough pill to swallow, and many fans are starting to wonder if Winston can find consistency in this offense. Josh Cribbs, always a sharp perspective, recently weighed in on this on his show The Return with Josh and Maria Cribbs. According to Cribbs, Winston's struggles can come down to one key factor: the Browns' lack of elite wide receivers. Without an explosive WR1 like Amari Cooper, who was traded to the Bills, Cribbs thinks Winston is forced to work much harder to make plays. He mentioned that Winston is often trying to get his receivers open instead of just hitting an open target. To Cribbs, the problem is partly that receivers are not being friendly to the quarterback, meaning they are not getting back to the ball aggressively or attacking it in contested situations. Instead, they are often waiting for the ball to come to them, which leaves Winston vulnerable to turnovers. So, what does this mean for the rest of the season? It's clear that Winston has found some early chemistry with Cedric Tillman, who's stepping up in Cooper's absence. Tillman has shown potential, and Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy are seeing consistent targets, too. But Cribbs believes that this group needs more time to gel with Winston if we're going to see them develop into a true threat. It's encouraging to see the offense air it out with Winston. He's not afraid to take those deep shots, but if the receivers can't find ways to create separation and become more reliable, Winston might continue to struggle. Now, let's shift gears to the Browns' defensive side, specifically to Myles Garrett. Despite the team's 2-7 record, Garrett has once again proven he's a game-changer. ESPN recently recognized him in their midseason awards, putting him third in the Defensive Player of the Year rankings. Even though the Browns' season hasn't gone as planned, Garrett's performance has been a bright spot. He's already racked up 7 sacks, 15 QB hits, and 10 tackles for loss. These are the kind of numbers we expect from a player of Garrett's caliber, even if it hasn't always translated to wins. Garrett's been giving everything he has, and in his own words, he knows he needs to do more to help the Browns win. Imagine if Garrett had more support on the other side of the ball, his efforts could be that much more impactful. Right now, he's drawing double teams on nearly 28% of his pass rush attempts, which is tied for the highest rate in the NFL. Even with this intense pressure, he still managed to rank third in pass rush win rate, and he's creating quick pressures on over 11% of his pass rush attempts. That's elite company, and it just shows the kind of talent we have in Garrett, even in a season that's not meeting expectations. ESPN's ranking of Garrett at third is fair, given our record, and it highlights just how talented the AFC North is when it comes to defensive powerhouses. He's up there with Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt, and while many of us feel Garrett could be number one, our record and some consistency issues have affected his position. But think about it, if a team needed a single player to get pressure on a critical play, Garrett would be one of the first names mentioned. It's clear that he's still one of the most dominant forces in the league, and his performance should be a reminder that there's still potential here, even if this season feels rough. So, Browns fans, what's next for us? It's tough to be 2-7, with questions around Winston's future in Cleveland and injuries piling up. But as Cribbs points out, there might still be a path forward if the receivers can adapt to Winston's style and step up. And with Garrett's continued excellence, we have a leader who won't let the team's spirit drop, even if things look bleak on paper. All right, Browns fans, it's time to hear from you. Do you think Winston can overcome these struggles if our WR step up? And how do you feel about Garrett's impact this season? Does he deserve to be higher on ESPN's list? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Browns updates. We'll be here every step of the way, win or lose. Go Browns!